All right, it is recording now, and here we go. That's not it. Good grief, that was the old one. Well, that was the first fail of the year.
It was awful.
All right, here we go.
Flashbacks to 1 and
Yeah,
15.
that was
Or
horrible.
1 and 15? 1 and, excuse me, 1 and 11.
Half a step too late or too early, you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. On this team, we fight for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch. Because we know that's the difference between winning and losing. Mean in the greens, right here for you. That's football, guys. Go Mean Green.
Welcome to the GoMeanGreen.com Barbershop Podcast, dedicated to students, alumni, and fans that truly bleed green. Follow us on Twitter at GoMeanGreen and visit our website, GoMeanGreen.com.
Love that. Here we go.
Now, your hosts of the GoMeanGreen.com Barbershop Podcast, Evan, Harry, and Ashton.
Let's go.
Hello and welcome, everybody. This is the 202nd edition of the GoMeanGreen.com Barbershop Podcast. This is Evan.
This is Harry.
This is Ashton. That's Jordan.
I had a way to jump out there, Jordan. That was excellent flow there. Went really well. Of course, the intro we have, which is obviously professional, did not mention Jordan, so I was hoping he'd have his own big entrance there, but didn't quite work out that way. But go ahead, try it again.
This is JD.
Okay, all right, that's good enough. Thanks for everybody for joining. This is a first episode of the 2019 season. A lot to look forward to this year, guys. A lot going on. We have a lot of returning players, and there's a lot of excitement. Maybe not for their first game against Abilene Christian, but for the rest of the season. And you have to start with Mason Fine. But before we do that, I just want to kind of get everybody's feel and put it out there right now. What do you think the record's going to be? No, I'm just kidding. It's too early for that. But Harry, I'll turn it over to you. I know a lot of you people look to you as the kind of the old man that kind of gives the words of wisdom. So for the first podcast,
Definitely old. Definitely old. No, it's exciting. I think with the off season being as long as it is, when you finally get to where we're 3 or 4 days away, it's hard to believe that it's finally here. But this is a very exciting season. I think this is as talented across the board, as deep and as athletic a team as North Texas has fielded since I've been following this program. I really do. Now, does that translate to a better record? I mean, this is a tough schedule. I think some of our fans are overlooking how good some of these teams are and just how tough our conference is as a whole. So, with that being said, I'm very optimistic. I think we're going to have a great year, and I can't wait for it to get started on Saturday.
Yeah, it's this is like the stupidest prediction in the world, but like I really think that we could just run the table, and I've said this before. It's extremely hard, to go undefeated, to only lose one game, but we could easily be a 10-win team and have like a bad game, here and there, and maybe squeak a couple out that we don't deserve to win, but still win them, and then lose one that we really should have won, like ODU last year or something like that. Or we could be a 7-win team because the teams we played this year are better than we thought they were. So it's weird. It's a weird season with that, because I think there's a lot of unknowns out there with the teams that we're playing more so than us. But yeah, I mean, we're pretty deep. I mean, when you talk about being deep, I mean, we've never been remotely this close or this deep at running back ever. And we've got, like 5 guys that can literally start on other Conference USA teams like right now. And that's not even including like an Oscar that, we don't know if he's a true freshman, so we don't even know. But yeah, I mean, it's super deep. Yeah. Sure. I mean, maybe like publicly, but and just because Mason, I mean, Mason deserves every bit of credit he's been given. Like, I mean, he's a stud. I mean, he shouldn't be overlooked. But you brought up Patrick Cobbs. Patrick Cobbs is the one who told me that the other day. We were talking after practice, and he's like, "We are crazy deep at running back. We've never been this deep before." So this is like our best running back of all time in a lot of our eyes, and 100-year, team century, all century team, starting running back, whatever. Saying that, I mean, yeah, we're stupid deep at running back right now. Like, I mean, the fact that a guy like Nick Smith might be like the fourth best, because Trey Singers has had such an amazing camp and looks awesome, and we obviously know what Easley and Torrey can do, and we've seen what Nick can do. And then, I mean, Evan Johnson's really good. He had a down year last year, but we still know he can play football at the D1 level really well. So, I mean, yeah, you're talking about that's a lot of dudes, right? There's 5 guys I just named. So, I mean, I think we're really deep at running back, and that's awesome because if we're up by 25 in the third quarter, sit the starting 2 down. And let's run with the other guys, and then let's take some wear and tear off their bodies. Being, having a deep running back core is pretty sweet because you can play a lot of them. So
I was using the wrong mouse. Well, a lot of people are obviously looking to the passing game. A lot of people are looking to the passing game. A lot of people, Mason Fine. So the running backs, I guess it's not on the first and foremost a lot of people's minds. So of the running backs out there, and I know Ashton, you just talked a little bit. JD, talk to me about who you're really looking at this year, who might not have been on the radar previously, or who's really stepped up this year.
I'm excited to see Jair Shorter. I mean, he was a guy when we talked about when he was a recruit. We were excited. I mean, I was surprised we landed. He had some bigger offers. Him and Greg White are both listed on the depth chart as Z1 and Z2, and those are 2 guys. When Jalen Gatton said he was leaving last year, I was nervous that we'd be able to fill his shoes, but I'm excited to see those 2 young guys step up and hopefully carry on.
Yeah, who's your pick at running back?
My pick at running back?
We just talked about receivers.
Yeah, I mean,
sweet.
I want to echo what JD said as far as at wide receiver. We're stacked at wide receiver too. I mean, I think wide receiver, even losing Jalen Guyton, you could argue is as deep as running back in a lot of respects. But to answer your question at running back, I mean, honestly, I think that Torrey is head and shoulders above everybody else, and they're all real good. But I think he's a guy. I mean, remember, he broke on the scene last year in the SMU game when at the very end of the game, when the game was way out of hand, we were killing him. He ran a touchdown. He ran a kickoff return back for a touchdown. I think that kid is super hungry, and it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. But that being said, we're super deep. I mean, I like them all, and it's the scary thing is we thought Attaway was going to get to play this year. It looks to me like he's going to probably redshirt because there's just too many guys ahead of him.
Yeah, and I know he was talking about receivers. I just was trying to I was trying to reel it back in a little bit to the running backs and then work our way to some of the other lines.
Sorry,
that's all right. It's all right.
No, do you like your gig? The receiver, like let's just segue to receiver.
Okay.
Because I don't agree with the fact that we're like obviously as deep as running back. We have a lot of question marks at receiver because we have a lot of unknowns. We're deep in a sense of like the talent's there. Like I was going to bring up Shorter if we were talking about guys we were excited to see this year. I'm really, I mean, I like what I've seen from him so far. Super good kid too. Really, really nice, well-spoken, has a good head on his shoulders. Just seems like a good dude. So you always root for the guys like that are just nice guys. Outside of after Rico and Mike Law and Jalen, yeah, I mean, obviously that's 3 good ones. but we don't know what the other ones are. I mean, we think Greg White's going to be pretty good. I've been talking about Greg White for 2 years now, but we don't know that much about him. We don't know much about Shorty yet because he hasn't played. So I think that we're deep theoretically at receiver in terms of on paper, but running back we're actually deep in terms of like proven actual talent.
So maybe I should have clarified the way I said that. I say that deep at receiver in the context of North Texas and wide receivers.
Sure. No,
I
I'm
mean,
not.
There was a time where George Marshall was our only receiver we had in the whole program, and he's the only guy really that. So you fast forward from the MAC regime to where we are now, Carlos Harris was considered a great player maybe back in the MAC regime, but I don't think Carlos Harris would crack the starting lineup on this crew, quite honestly.
Carlos was the product of high volume, and balls were getting thrown to him because they weren't throwing anywhere else. And we were down a lot of those games. And even us, North Texas at the time, that weren't really opening it up very much back then. We were still throwing the ball around a lot. So, no, I think that, Carlos was a product of, the kid could catch and the kid had a lot of heart. But, our ninth deep receiver could answer than Carlos Harris right now, and Carlos wasn't really crazy athletic, excuse me. So, I think that I'm excited to see what our receiving core does because I think that there is a ton of talent there. It's just a lot of unknowns. Like, we just don't know if these guys are going to be, Jalen Guyton, we were 4 across the board at receiver last year. And we were talking, I think we had this conversation last year, like, oh my Lord, we're really deep at receiver at North Texas. This is so weird. We have 4 really good receivers. And now we lost one of them and we haven't replaced it with anybody that we know is like just a shoe-in to be really, really solid. So that's the only thing I would temper those expectations a little bit. But running back, I'm stoked to see the fact that like we could have I want to get like 300 yard rushers in a game because I think that would just be awesome. And if we go a game like Abilene Christian, if a couple of those guys break off long runs, we could, sit their ass down in the second half and let a guy like, Sniggers or Nick Smith or Evan Johnson or whoever's 3, 4, 5, whatever, however the order ends up being, get some playing time.
All right, a lot's been everybody. We really should have started out this way, but Mason Fine. You guys have seen him. You knows what's going on. Everybody knows he's not an unknown here. We expected a lot out of him last year, and for the most part, I think he exceeded expectations because everybody was worried about that. It could be like a junior slump. So, what are we expecting too much out of him this year? I mean, Ashton, what have you seen out there?
Mason's just a stud. I mean, he is the dude. Just his work ethic is insane. He's just business, and he's just. The thing I like about him most is that he just really wants to go play football. Like, that's it. Like, he just wants to play football. Like, it's like he's a bad student. He's a great student. He likes going to school as well, but he is football like all the time, 24/7. And he, if anybody heard that interview on the ticket the other morning with the Musers, he's talked about it, I think on camera for Beyond the Green a couple times, like, he made a list when he came to North Texas, and he's checking it off, each one. And I think that the guy is he's just got such a great work ethic, and he's got such a great head on his shoulders, and he's had to earn everything because of his size and getting playing time. And again, I still wonder, like, what if Alec Morris was lighting up that SMU game? Do we see Mason like that season for like 6 games? We might have not had like 5 games of Mason that year. So it's just such a crazy scenario to like go back and think about. But he deserves all the credit he gets. I'm glad he's starting to get some love. I'm glad ESPN finally came to their senses and was like, let's write a story about Mason Fine, because I know the athletic department has been pitching it to them for 2 years now. And I think that just overall the dude is just he's bulked up a little bit. He's probably 5 or 6 pounds heavier right now than he was last year, and good weight, not like bad weight. So he's a little bit thicker. I assume once we start playing, he might start shedding some of that weight because that's just how it goes during football season. But I think he wants to stay on the field, and he's super determined to just kick everybody's ass, and that's the thing I like about him most. He's got an awesome killer instinct. So
What
I'm
about
excited
a
for him.
lot's been made? I mean, the guy's has gotten beat up. He's very mobile. We've seen him take some huge hits, and the one that you always play. This was 2 years ago. The one against UTSA where we won the game. He's taken some big hits. I mean, how big of a concern is his health? Obviously, we saw what happened in the bowl game.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think that's the biggest question mark, and I didn't really want to bring it up because I don't want to kind of keep belaboring a thing with him because that is it's on everybody's mind because we go as far as 6 takes us. You know, we got to keep him upright, and if we don't keep him upright and we don't keep his him healthy, get big leads, get him out of the game. That's my coaching advice right there. Like, let's get a big ass lead and then let's like sit his ass down because I want to see him play all 13 games this year, maybe 14 if we get to go to a conference championship, which I think we totally could. And I think that's also on his mind because you look at that bowl game, that's not a hit. That's a soft tissue, just running. He didn't take a big hit. That's the worst part is that it was that. So you don't ever are you labeling a guy like unlucky or injury prone or whatever, but it happens. And I think that's the only question mark to that kid is can he stay healthy or will he? Not can he? I know he can, but just will he? Because he's also got some brass and he likes to just push it to the limit sometime and he'll take a hit. He'll sit back in the pocket. He'll get crushed if he sees a guy that could get an 8-yard gain rather than just throw the ball away and maybe not get crushed. We all know Mason last year against FAU. He goes out, he comes back in, big cut on his hand, bleeding profusely. And he's like, put me in, coach. I'm fine. So kid's a stud, but yeah, I hope it's in his mind a little bit to maybe slide a few extra times.
Yeah,
he's the best quarterback we've ever had. And I don't think there's any question of that. And I think the next thing you got to start talking about is he the greatest player we've ever had? And some people are going to say Joe Green, but remember, Joe Green played defense and, was a great player and went to the NFL. And is a great story. But this kid, Mason Fine, is in his own way a very special story. Because he didn't have any offers. And he didn't get the recognition that he deserved because of his size. But I think my concern about Mason Fine this year is with the Heisman hype that they're putting together, which I think was a good move, by the way. Putting him up for Heisman, he's not going to win, but it's going to get you some publicity that you can't pay for. But the problem with that is with that Heisman thing, I think there's going to be an inclination. And Mason will stoke this fire, believe me, for him to put up some gaudy numbers whenever he possibly can. And that's my only concern is that because we're trying to get as much promotion, and unfortunately this is the last year of Mason Fine, that we may see it hard for the coaches and the Mason himself to get out of those games. Like take Abilene Christian, for instance. What if we do go up, 25, 30 points on them? Does Mason want to come out of the game, or is he still trying to get to a certain number in terms of his stats? So that does concern me a little bit.
Well, I think, my view on Mason Fine is we won the lottery. There's no doubt in his ability. But to have somebody that's not got some wacky baggage or you have to worry about their behavior or saying the right thing, we just got the complete package and we're very lucky. But you're right. Things could come up and what do you do and how long do you play them? So I think that's going to, not to get away from Mason Fine talk, because I think we could talk about what we expect out of him all evening. But let's start talking about those 4 quarterbacks behind him, because we always like the backup quarterback. No, but seriously, this is his last year. We hope he plays every game and every down because we know he's going to do great. But the question becomes, who is behind him? Who, if we go up 30 points on Abilene Christian and they need to sit him down, who's back there? Because I think right now it's all fine all the time. What is back there?
DeMarcus
Yeah.
Smith, I think, is there, right? DeMarcus Smith's there. And Dejan.
I knew that
Pretty
name
sure
was
he's
coming
out of
up.
eligibility.
Dejan. I think Dejan probably is the number 2.
I hope
Yeah.
it's Jason Bean. I mean, he's kind of been groomed as we talked about him as the next quarterback with his athleticism, but that was one of my many knocks on Graham Harrell last year was that we had no backup quarterback. I mean, I know Quinn came in a couple games, but we really needed some other younger guys to get some playing time. So the Utah State debacle didn't happen, but I'm hoping this year that and if maybe it's Jason Bean, maybe it's Austin Awney. The only thing that scares me about Austin is, his age, because at any time he could hang up the cleats and decide to, move on to something else. So I think not only with the age and the athleticism, Jason Bean's got the higher upside in my opinion. That's who I hope we definitely see some.
Yeah, man. I think it's got to be Bean. You can't teach speed, and the dude just has it in spades. I mean, he is like the fastest player on the team again. He's got crazy athleticism. He's real thin, and he's being pulled, no pun intended, but or maybe, but I think Austin needs some more grooming in a way. I think that if God forbid something happens to Mason early, I think they would probably go with Bean first because he's got a little bit of experience now. He traveled every game last year. To my knowledge, I think he traveled almost every game. And he was, he's seen more than Austin has seen. So it wouldn't make as much sense to me, but Austin has got some promise. So it's and it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, they probably have a bunch of packages for Bean, I would assume, because I think when you have a guy like that, you've got my chair just went down, so I shrunk. That was weird. When you got a guy like that who has a specific skill set, you probably do some things. I don't know. So it would be surprising to me if Mason comes out on Saturday and it be somebody totally different than who we're talking about.
Again, I have to jump in here, Evan. As a longtime fan, this is a plethora of riches. I mean, we used to struggle to try to get one quarterback that could come in and we hope could compete. Now we've got these battles for the second position with a guy in other past years might have been the starter from day one. The other thing we haven't talked about is what about Kason Martin and what about Will Keeney? And then not to mention right now, and Jordan knows more about this than me, but we've got a guy that's committed and that's a prospect that may be one of the highest rated guys we've had on paper, since we've been doing this. So there's a lot of talent there. And you wonder how it's all going to play out because we lost that one guy to Kilgore Junior College, that Cade Pearson, I think was his name. And there's only so much playing time to go around, I guess is my point. Well, the new offensive coordinator is Bodie Reeder. He put up amazing statistics. Was it Eastern Washington?
Yeah.
Was the name of the college he was. There's a lot of good publicity about him. He seems to be a little more up tempo. He's going to use the tight end more. A lot of the things that I think were complaints about Graham Harrell, I think, are being answered by this new hire with Bodie Reeder. Now, what I'm going to say is, for us, Bodie Reeder hadn't done anything yet. So I'm really interested to watch this Abilene Christian game and some other games to see kind of where he fits. I think Graham Harrell did a hell of a job. You could say what you want to about this, that, or whatever. Look at our offense. Look at what Mason Fine did. He got a lot of good things accomplished, and those are some pretty big shoes for this new guy to fill.
I think that, I mean, I'm not going to say Bodie's better or anything like that, but I think after the number of late game collapses last year, Graham leaving was a good thing because it kind of helped get that taste out of our mouth. Because I mean, really, the late season second half collapses really cast a bad shadow on last year. I mean, last year watching some highlights from the team was very good, but like Old Dominion, Utah State, there's several games that we had big leads in that blowing it in the second half and the offense just kind of stalled out. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of glad we've got maybe some change to see. Maybe that'll help out. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't happy to see Graham leave. I like, I think the thing that a lot of people kind of sometimes forget or whatever about Graham is, this was his first offensive coordinating position. So last year was his third year as an offensive coordinator. And I look at that first year as being such a weird year for the entire staff because they were just dealing with so much crap from the year before and just trying to clean house and figure out what they had. And Harry's asleep, I think, right now.
No, I'm looking at my phone. Somebody texted me, Ashton.
And JD and Ashton are going on about Graham. Harry's going to take a little bit of a nap. I think Graham, might be a hot sports opinion. I think Graham did a lot of really good things. And I think having a successful college quarterback who's been there as your quarterback's coach wasn't a bad thing for Mason Fine at all. I think that was a really nice thing to have because, what if Seth was his offensive coordinator? Seth didn't play quarterback. Not saying Seth doesn't know anything about quarterbacks, but Graham could teach Mason every little nuance that you only get if you maybe played quarterback in your life. And I was always really happy with the fact that Graham, trusted Mason, took in Mason. He wasn't beating down the door after that first game to go back to Alec Morris. He was like, no, let's do this. This is our guy, and he wanted, he had him in camp and he gave him all the reps. And I mean, Graham deserves a lot of credit for what Mason became. And I think Mason would be the first one to tell you that. So I don't, yeah. And I'm not, JD, I'm not saying you were crapping on Graham or anything like that. No. But I also, the flip side of that is I think that the bad taste is definitely, it's refreshing. And I'm a big Bodie fan. The little I've been around him so far, really, really, really like him. The dude seems super smart. Like really, really quick and really smart. And Quinn Shambor, who I believe is interning right now or something with the team. I think he's volunteering or interning. He's just kind of helping out. I talked to him a couple practices ago, and he used the word brilliant. And Quinn has seen a thing or two. He's seen different coaching staffs. And this would be his third offensive coordinator to be around at his time at North Texas.
Yeah, he's 35 years old.
Yeah, he's pushing 40. So he's working on he's going. So, I know. Take that, Quinn, if you're listening. But Quinn's my guy. I can say that to him. So it's kind of bittersweet because. When Graham left, I was like, damn, that's a really gifted offensive brain. Whether or not it translates onto the field all the time, I mean, Graham definitely, had it upstairs that I missed, and it was like, who are we going to bring in? That being said, everything I heard about Bodie when we hired him, and what I've seen so far, I'm really digging it, and he seems to He's real energetic, and he's just kind of fun to be around, and he's kind of always moving around a lot. He's talking with his hands, kind of like I'm doing right now, and he's just got a lot of energy, and it's really cool to be around. So I'm excited, excited to see what he does. Yeah.
We've talked about it. I think Seth had five, six um, coordinators, assistant coaches leave. All of them went to Power Fives. Besides one, I believe. But I mean, the fact that it seems like every year it's just half the staff turns over, but at the same time it's like we don't. It hires. We don't take a step back. It's between Clay Jennings, Adrian Mays, Galen Scott, the linebacker coach. I think they might even improve a little bit. I mean, it's I'm excited about the new hires personally.
Yeah. I think that I think that there a lot of people left, but Seth's an offensive coach. Duh. So offensive coordinator leaving, not the worst thing in the world because you've got an offensive-minded coach already. So then, Filani leaves with Graham, even though they went separate places, but they both leave. But the fact that Maynard's still here and Langston, like your running game and your passing game don't really change. So while you got and let's face it, like Tashard Choice was great and we like Tashard Choice, but I don't think there's anybody here that's going to say like, oh damn, we got Patrick Hobbs now. Like I mean, Patrick, like him coming back home is pretty awesome. So I think that the offensive side of the ball, like while we had some changes, not enough changed, and we kept our DC and we kept our D line coach. So it's a lot of turnover, but it's like the nucleus is definitely still there, and I think that's very, very refreshing.
I mean, I'm excited about the defensive line, and I'm excited about the safety positions. In between the linebacking core, I mean, losing EJ and BG, I mean that's huge. I mean, they were both unbelievable players and leaders in that defense. So I mean, I'm excited to see the progress of Deion Noble and Ladarius Hamilton, um, and bringing the safety core back, Taylor Robinson and Kyrie Muhammad. I mean, that's big. So you've got four guys there that have experience, but I'm nervous but excited to see how that linebacking core. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Tyreek Davis since he landed on campus. So I'm excited to see how big a step he's going to make. And Katie Davis was a huge recruit when we got him. We had to beat out Illinois for him. So um, I'm excited to see how the linebacker. They've got big shoes to fill, but hopefully with the returning guys we do have, hopefully it won't be that big a void.
We're not going to be as good without EJ. I'm just going to tell everybody that right now. We're not going to be as good without. He was too good. But we are a very fast. I think people are going to be shocked at how fast this defense is. When you're talking about Tyreek, he was a safety. Now he's playing middle linebacker, I believe. So, the speed of this defense is going to blow people's minds. And I think we could still be a good defense. I just think players like EJ Ajayi come along once, every decade or so, and they're just really hard to replace.
Yeah, I think that I kind of agree with both you guys. I don't think that EJ and BG. I think that EJ was as successful as he was because of what BG was able to do as well. So I like to give BG as much credit as possible. I think that guy was super underrated. But yeah, we're losing like 180 something tackles or something like that between the two of them. It's a lot of freaking tackles. But at the same time, I think our defensive line might be better this year if Deion takes the next step and Ladarius really kind of comes into his own. We need Ladarius to step up. Ladarius needs to be like the young kind of production, and he's been that. He's been good, but he needs to be. We need him to be dominant, or be good enough to like take guys and make them, take double teams away from other guys and free up Bryce English and Deion Noble, and let these guys, feast and the linebackers feast on blitz and stuff like that. Because, a guy that I loved was Aaron Bellazine back in the day in 2013, and Bino just got no love and no credit from the world on what he was able to do, because he was either picking up scraps and doing something with it, or he was clogging up holes and allowing Akune and Zach Orr to just clean house. And I love Bino, and if he becomes that guy, great. But I think we all want, a 7 or 8, 9 sack season from Ladarius, and some quarterback hits and some hurries and some forced fumbles and some fumble recoveries and some tackles for loss. We want to see him have these numbers. And I think he needs to take the step to really, just kind of, because he's always had the hype, and wearing Joe Green's number and everything like that. It's time for him to really like come into his own. And I think he's primed for it. He's got a gray head on his shoulders, and he's looking. He wants to be good, and that's always great when you got a guy like that. But our linebacking core, fast as hell, but size, they're small. There's, EJ was a big mammal, and these guys aren't that big. So I know we're in Conference USA, and you can rely on speed more than size sometimes, and it's a pass-happy conference and all that stuff. But at the same time, like we need some girth on these dudes, and I think that's the one thing I'm a little bit scared of. But KD Davis is violent. He wants to hit you. He wants to hurt you. And I think that dude last year, I talked to a lot on the sidelines, to be honest with you, and he was always like, I want to be in the game, I want to play. And I was like, no, man, like, let's not, I don't want to burn your shirt, even though we burned it early. But, he's really eager to be out there, and he learned a lot from EJ and BG. They taught him a lot. They took him under their wing, and those are two really good guys to learn from. So I'm excited to see what KD Davis does for sure. But there's some other young guys like Wood. I'm excited to see what Wood does, and Gaddy, and and then transfer Quinn Whitlock. These are other. We got some new faces, and I'm really stoked to see this year.
And don't forget the 2 grad transfers in the secondary, Nick Harvey and is it Harrison? Dominique Harrison, is that his name?
Yeah.
The guy from Arizona State. So we got 2 guys that transferred in, that are going to just help. I think, if not start, at least from a depth perspective.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that will. When you lose 6 starters, you're going to see new dudes. The thing about this year is we got such a good class. These guys had a good camp. Like, you're going to see some true freshmen, I think. And then we got these grad transfers that, in our eyes, are kind of like freshmen because we've never seen them before. So, Whitlock and Harvey and Harrison, and then, like I said, Gaddy and Wood. These are new dudes that really could come out there and have a chance to make a name for themselves. If they're given them the PT, and I think they will, especially we're up in some games for sure.
I think it's tough early. I think the fact that we have to go after Abilene Christian to Dallas, to play SMU, we all know we haven't fared well in Dallas against SMU. SMU has like 17 transfers, Division I, Power 5 transfers. So and a quarterback that transferred from Texas is Shane Michelle, who's a pretty good player, So that game scares me. And then the California game, I think our fans on Go Mean Green are a little bit overlooking, let's say, the Bears. I think Cal they're not the best team in the Pac-12, but they're in the Pac-12 or Pac-10, whatever the hell it is. And they beat Washington last year. So you jump right into those two games that could be wins, could be losses, and then who comes into town but our good friends from San Antonio. So. Well, I went to that game in San Antonio in the Alamo last year, and literally we were hanging on by our fingernails to win that game. So I just think it's a tough. I think that beginning part of the season, if we can handle that well and maybe come out with maybe just one loss or win them all, then holy cow, man, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be an exciting start to this season for sure.
I mean,
Oh, yeah, I need to mention Houston, and we all know, I mean, Houston's got this big game against Oklahoma Sunday night, and let me just predict right now, if Houston beats Oklahoma somehow, which they probably won't, but if they do, or play them really close, that game at Apogee could be a sellout game. I'm serious. It may be the first sellout at Apogee Stadium, so I'm pulling for Houston to do well in this game Sunday night against the Sooners.
I mean, you can look at the schedule, like I said. I mean, we could be 4-1 after Houston, and we could easily be 1-4. I mean, the Houston game I'm probably most excited about just because the new coach, and I think there's going to be a lot of eyes. They've got a high-profile quarterback. Both him and Mason are both sub 6 foot. I think they're both probably top 10 quarterbacks in the country. So I'm probably most excited about the game. I'm nervous about both SMU and UTSA. I mean, those are both true rival games, so it doesn't really matter, what the records say or what the stats say. I mean, I think both those games are going to be tough. So I'm excited, but like I said, this first September is going to be a very interesting month for me and Green for sure.
I think this may sound weird. The game that I guess I'm most nervous about is SMU. Because I'm just always nervous about playing SMU. Because if we lose against SMU, it's like we just got kicked in the balls repeatedly for like a year. Because it's like that year that we went, we had the great run, 2017 and everything like that. With we lost to SMU, and it was like that sucks. We lost to SMU again. And Cortland Sutton made us look like idiots. It's weird because that game always just scares you because you just don't want to lose to SMU. And so if you're talking about games that scare me, that's the game because if we lose to them, I feel like it's just like it's detrimental to our team psyche because they hate them. We hate them. We don't like SMU at all. And if we lose to them, we kind of lose the territory a little bit. And Seth's only beat them. He's won out of 3 against them. So that's the game that kind of I guess scares me the most. The game I'm most excited about is probably Cal because if we can go to Cal and win, which we know we can win on the road against a Power 5 school, I think that Arkansas has better players than Cal does. Arkansas last year had better players than Cal does, and we beat them. So that would be amazing, and that would be that would be one of those things where if we beat Cal, then we really should only like a 2-loss team this whole year because you're going to lose a fluke game. That's just going to happen. So. Yeah, crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. The weird thing about, to piggyback on that is that every time I'm on campus, I see a tour. So it's like I'm also seeing these tours like happen. So it's not just a building that we're using like three times a semester. It's like it's in use a lot. It's weird because I mean when I didn't you would see the occasional tour, and it was probably in May or March or something like that. It wasn't in like October or August for the next year, So that was that's it's interesting. Yeah, the fact that there's a tour building is crazy. Yeah. Don't take pictures of the men's room, dude.
Yeah, you gotta take that picture of the TV, high definition TV screen in the bathroom, and contrast it against the trough in Fouts Field. We've come a long way. We've come a long way, baby.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Wow. Killed it with fire, hopefully.
Burned it.
Yeah. And lead and asbestos. Yeah.
Well, remember the ACU game is a whiteout game, so you're supposed to wear your white. Yeah, and the ACU, Abilene Christian's going to be wearing all purple, so it'll be an interesting color scheme in the stadium. That's not saying much.
Oh man, go green. Beyond the green. The first episode will be next Thursday. No, I'm sorry. We don't have the exact day yet. I don't have a release date. It will be next week prior to the SMU game. It will not be on Fox Sports Southwest. People who probably tried to look at the guide and DVR it probably know Harry just put a weird emoji up there, and that was weird. I'm not gonna lie. I've been there. Trust me. It's talking about Fox Sports Southwest. We've been kicking around the idea of doing something internet-based streaming for a little while now, so that's going to come to fruition and be next week's show. And you'll start to hear a little bit more about it as it gets closer. We'll start to have a release date, release time, and everything like that as to when it's going to premiere. I don't want to give too much away about what you're going to see in the first episode, but might be a few changes this year. And as I kind of figure everything out, I will start enlightening everybody as to what those are. But yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's not going to be on Fox, and I think there's advantages to that and disadvantages to that. But I think ultimately, taking advantage of the fact that you can stream things nowadays, and that's where it lives, not waiting a day to go on YouTube. I mean, that's fine, but there is something to be said about being on Fox. I think so. It's just different opinions. And as to where it should be and what time slot and everything like that. But, we're not going to be constrained by times now, and you want to sit through commercials. So, there's definitely some pluses to it. So, everybody will see some stuff this year beyond the green. It is still around. And like I said, we'll have some more updates soon. And as soon as I know exactly when it's going to be released online, I will let everybody know that. I promise.
iTunes.
I always think JD's gaming when we're doing this. I really think that he's on Fortnite or he's playing Mason Fine, like Red Dead Redemption or something like that. Or I hope you're just watching tape, JD. That's what you should be doing.
That's it.
I need you to watch tape and talk about recruits people.
I've got Huddle playing in the background.
Totally.
Go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green.